we need to fixate our eyes and view onto this draft because this is the draft that makes
Sir,
or breaks
what's your command?
Yudu Red Giants that's currently behind. The ban over on the Fanny will remain to be the consistent thing on the block for Smart Omega, and we start to understand why, because if they're going to be playing around picks like Novaria and you still have certain units that are mainly just crowd control providers, then that Fanny's going to be wreaking havoc all across the map. And if they want to stick with the Benedetta again, I think like it's a good call. But now that they're on the blue side, they have a lot more options to start with. We're still looking at other heroes like, of course, the Faramis that might just be a priority for Smart Omega to secure later on.
You know what? This is kind of like a clue. The fact that they still ban out the Fanny on top of what you just said. Maybe they want to go for a double tank formation again, just like before. Because the only, I wouldn't say the only, but one of the heroes that can cut across and just ignore the tanks that is in front is a Fanny. And the fact that they ban that out, I don't know. They're looking forward to maybe taking the Baxia again. And if that's the case, then YOODO Red Giants, something for them to consider to ban out.
Yeah, this time they're going to be taking out Nolan, so we're going to be looking for something different for Sakai's. Well, he's got so many heroes that he could still work with, so it should be pretty much A-okay, since that they've also dealt with this type of situation in their group stages many a time. So that's one Angela being removed, and Smart Omega's final ban on the first phase. If they were to actually find something in return, I think that they've already eliminated what they needed in the past round, right? Like, Sakai's was too dangerous on that Nolan, so that's one. And they're sticking back to that good event ban for Smart Omega.
Yeah, honestly, the rest, other than Nolan, wasn't a big threat for them just because of how they formate themselves, how their formation is. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about like trying to ban other heroes from that round. I think they are comfortable even if they want to stick to like the same sort of strategy. And it's not the first time that we see like double tank strategy coming from Smart Omega. We saw it even like in the group stage as well. So if they want to do it again by starting now because the Baxia is open, why not?
Yeah, I think like running it back will be the best option for the side of Smart Omega. They're gonna start it off safe by picking up the Bruno, not too telling, and YRG. They get to have so much that they can actually go for right here. They have worked very, very well with the Kadita pick if they want to opt for an early mid lane option. So YRG, that's a lot of things that they can consider even for the XP lane as well. So that's definitely going to be a little bit more brainstorm right now going on their side. They're not even hovering right now.
Well, I'm okay. Arlot, because gorgeous, of course. Oh yeah, 1-1 is available because they banned out the 1-1 before this, and then this round, instead of the 1-1, they banned out the Nolan. So this opportunity for them to take the 1-1. And I was kind of thinking about like, okay, why did they not take the Baxia first? Okay, it kind of makes sense that the fact that if you take the Baxia early, considering that Smart Omega is the first picker, you pick that, then the other side can immediately take a tank shredder, a Dyroth, for example. Because we have seen the trend is that when you see a Baxia, the Dyroth is being banned out. And they normally do that just right before the second phase ban. But because they're on the first pick, it's going to be slightly tricky unless they see a jungler being picked up. But in this case, the jungler is not picked up by YOODO Red Giants. So for them to go for a Baxia at this stage, they might leave it for later.
Oh, we're looking at a different sort of approach already, especially with the Lilia being picked up. I do like this sort of approach where you could still have a lot of nuke damage when you go into those team fights. So once that Baxia gets a catch, like the job gets completed way easier as compared to how it was on that Novaria, where you still got to take aim and get a little bit more of that vision. This is a little bit more straightforward. Go roam a little bit and get that catch. So Super Civ will have to go ahead and think, should they actually go for that mid option before more of all these picks gets out of the way. So you can still go for things like Valentina if they want to. You can still have that Kadita. So instead, it's going to be that Kaja that's being hovered. Final second board.
Okay.
Not sure if this is going to be the best, but I could see it could work very well when they are contesting for objectives, and in a way helping to shred out the tanks as well.
Yeah, because of the true damage from Gord. So that is also another answer to the tanks. And they keep their option open for the jungler, if you kind of think about it. So jungler now they can go for, like, okay, if you want to go for a tank, we can do that. Jungler assassin, we can do that. For YOODO Giants, they haven't been absolute fans of jungler assassins. They normally prefer like the jungler tank sort of pick, unless of course Nolan is a slight exception. So they might want to go for that, and it does make sense considering that their current lineup is somewhat squishy, except for Arlott that can hover towards a semi-tank sort of build.
Yeah, and I think like the majority of all these Arlott that we've seen so far has only built like maybe one damage item, and then they just start building all these core tank items online, so that they just get to be able to contribute in the team fights much better in that sense, where you just consistently put out those damages and still last out in those fights. So second phase, we see a lot more focus onto the EXP lane with Dyrov as well as Khalid running out. And they're just basically negating the pool of what they could possibly play up there. And we've seen a lot of Paquito. This could easily disrupt the Gord midway through any form of trying to channel his ultimate. So I think that's a decent call, but would they want to go for another Benedetta as well? Or maybe YRG could also play that for themselves.
You know what? I actually kind of like the mind games from YOODO Giants with the God pick, now that I think about it. After looking at Smart Omega still going in for the Dyrov ban, because to their mind it's like, oh, okay, they still haven't picked a jungler. So it's like the mind games here, right? So they might as well clear that off first, because that's an absolute tank shredder to the Bucks here. So they take that out, they're forced to use one ban, and instead of like being able to ban something else, they probably need to ban something that they didn't really want to ban in the first place. You know, that's kind of like the mind games that YOODO Giants did.
Yeah, and I do think that that is actually something that they do intend as well. Is that it does not really reveal too much of their final recipe, but from here onwards, the moment that Yumski goes in for a pick, then we will get that full picture of how things are gonna go. Time is ticking, and Yumski is still trying to find the perfect option, and this is going to be a Yuzong that will be able to find an efficient way to look for a dive. I hope that this time it will be played out more efficiently, because on the past series that they faced off, which I do believe was another RGMY, where sometimes they utilize the Black Dragon form way too early just to try to save a teammate right before the spawn of the Lord or even the Turtle. So now they just really have to improve on some of the timings of their rotation. That should be good to go. Oh, we got ourselves a Diggy, and I think that this is actually going to run pretty well for the likes of Smart Omega. Like, you just got a lot of all these boosts in terms of getting layers, and now they switch it out to a Kufra, which they would be able to actually easily catch that Gord when he tries to move about.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, right? But look at the idea of having a Lancelot here. So YOODO Giants, to a certain extent, they learned from the previous round. It's like, okay, our issue was that we had an issue dealing with the backline. So now they have a Yuzong, which obviously can do go into the backline with the Black Dragon form. And if they do pick up a Lancelot, which is not all the time, and I thought that they're going to go with a tank or fighter-ish sort of jungler. But if they do go for an assassin jungler, this may kind of throw Smart Omega off to say that, hey, we weren't prepared for this. And now they need to give extra attention to the protection of their Bruno. But we'll see if it gets locked in. And yes, it does. So this is something sort of fresh coming from YOODO Red Giants that Smart Omega will need to adapt to.
Yeah, and we're also looking at another rapid tempo of play that they're hoping to achieve in that early game in order to secure those form of leads. But same style of gameplay for Smart Omega with a lot of variants of ensuring that they get more control all across that map, because this Benedetta pick so far has been the staple. And I can see why they didn't exactly just simply ban that Benedetta away for when YOODO Red Giants have that opportunity to do so, because they did manage to kind of answer it because Benedetta in the early phase of the game may not actually offer too much, and the mid game onwards is where they start to have a little bit more of that impact. But I think like this pick itself could still affect and basically bring success for the side of Smart Omega, but we'll have to find out for ourselves, because we are ready to hit right into the Land of Dawn for Game 2 between YOODO Red Giants and Smart Omega.
Oh, here we go. Jungle Invasion maybe by Smart Omega since they have the Baxia. So that's an option for them. Or if we learn from whatever that we've seen previously with the Baxia, they like to go invade lanes instead of invading the jungle. So that is something that the YOODO Red Giants will need to be prepared of. We can see the rotation coming to the top very early by Yums, and he is on the Arlot, by the way. Not the first time we see an Arlot roam, so Arlot is rather flexible. No surprises there that Yums will be using it.
Yeah, I just wonder how much of a disruption can he actually cause towards this Baxia, though. I mean, you have a Kufra alongside, so I think like going for deep invades are rather risky. And now they're just waiting for this Gork to accompany alongside. Rael will be able to jump right in as well. The moment he sets foot, you can see that there is just no way of moving out, forcing a flicker away, but still managing to stay alive.
Wow, that was kind of scary. But lucky enough, he had the flicker, so he's okay. His teammates were there as well, just to provide cover, just to provide insurance. But if Yums want to play the same style as before, like, okay, trying to go into the jungle, deep inside of there, without the flicker as an Arlot, no, he won't be able to do that. So from Smart Omega's perspective, because he has used the flicker, they know that he is at his own half for now. At most, he'll be just hovering around the river looking for opportunities, but they don't need to worry any further about the jungle invasion from Yums.
Yeah, and for now, Smart Omega will be in pretty much in a relief state where they don't really have all too much of a hindrance from the get-go, so they will be able to focus down any sort of target. And once again, they know that Yums have been weakened without a flicker. They're going to be targeting him all the way towards the back, managing to escape. One final blow coming from Rael, not enough, so it trades back. Gorgeous gets the first blood, but Sakai's, he's going pretty low, and Gorgeous may have to give his life up for this one. Could not really get a little bit of that movement buff to get away to safety, so it's a 1-for-1.
Well, 1-for-1, but the turtle will be in the hands of Smart Omega now, considering that they have shoot away the rest of YOODO Red Giants, but Yums is back in action. It's not like he can Retribution and really challenge for it, so it's going to be Matt that will happily take it away.
Yeah, and I guess like this is why not every game you could simply just apply Arlot as a Roma to actually get those leads, because once you have such a disruptive composition that is being displayed by Smart Omega, it is rather difficult for you to efficiently cause any form of challenge. And you just see a perfect roam coming out of the Kufra as well to always accompany the Baxia wherever you go. So Gramgot is just being a best buddy at the time being. Now they will start looking for their own as you see the Kufra slowly pathing towards the top side. So this dive is going to set right in, hunting out for that 1-1, and they might just actually find Yusuke again stuck underneath the turret. Nothing much left as Rael gets that easy pick off. But here comes the Gore, trying to do as much as he can.
Oh!
It is not enough. There's not much items for them to actually deal much. But here comes the Black Dragon form, Gorgeous, hoping to find something, but they have already got what they needed, and Smart Omega will just leave without much traces.
Yeah, with the Black Dragon form, Gorgeous arrives, but the party is over, unfortunately. But now at least Yups is back. But everyone for Smart Omega, they've retreated. So, I mean, everyone committed to the top, opening up some space at the bottom. But at least for Skies, he's still there, so he can continue on the farm. But I guess that's also the idea of Smart Omega, is like pull everyone to the top, have a little bit of time to recuperate, to reset, and focus on the next objective. That's the turtle.
Enough, and that's coming up within 8 seconds. The majority of them are still hanging around their jungle as well as the top end of the map. So the Boxtail will get that early lead. They can start chunking down some of the health if they want to. Meanwhile, Realtail has already scouted out the entire section of the purple side, and he can just simply solo it off. Smart Omega didn't really have to put themselves at risk throughout the course of the battle.
Yeah, I mean, the turtle went down just like that. You blink and you miss it, ladies and gentlemen, and it's now in the hands of Smart Omega. The second turtle, in fact, that they managed to take. Now, keep your eyes on the top. Yoda, a little bit of a risky play, but here's the Benedetta, and look at the level of mobility. There's no way for Yumski to be able to catch him.
Yeah, and I foresee this to be a huge problem because you realistically look at who from YRG can actually catch members out of Smart Omega, especially for that Benedetta. She's already so slippery, you don't necessarily have any form of a reliable stun or so in order to really catch that Benedetta. And what can that Gore do? Like, the moment that you want to aim for the Benedetta, she can just dash away. So it's not too much of a hindrance, which is why you can see a little bit more that confidence is beginning to spark out of Smart Omega. Now, looking for a little bit more of that inbit, trying to steal the buff away. I believe that may not be successful of an attempt, but the rest of them congregate over the bottom side, and this is where Yusuke needs to buy as much of that space, and Ford just have to just expend this a little bit just to clear off these waves.
Well, look at the top lane as well. I mean, Ryota has the space of his life. Not only able to farm in the jungle at the top lane, but he's also able to push. I wouldn't be surprised if he can take down this turret all alone, but we have a movement here coming from Gorgeous. He realized that Ryota cannot be left alone, so at least he's there. But now with Skies passing by, at least he is he's a Lancelot, so it's as equally difficult to catch him.
Yeah, and for the rest of Smart Omega as well, like, they're starting to get a lot more tankier, so realistically there's not much for them to actually catch onto Humes once more on the chopping block, but there will be Prince Gorgeous to be able to dive all the way to West, finds the kill, and Zack Cutie have been able to melt down the Kufra as well, so they gotta find some magic resistance in between because this sword is also starting to hurt. Demon Hunter Sword now online for Super Civ.
Oh man, as much as they're gathering in the middle, look at the top again. Ryota is not letting go of that top turret. He will get it anytime soon. At the same time, the bottom lane, we have Matt all alone, but are they really going to commit onto him? I mean, he's kind of tanky as well. So it looks like yes, they will. But look at the damage onto Matt. He has no issue tanking it as the boxer he is. And now the U-turn is happening as Ray L has arrived. Zack Cutie is in trouble and he will be the next one to go down. Probably even Yumski, but Yumski managed to slide away.
Yeah, and the problem with Gord is that you don't necessarily have the best of mobility in your kit to actually get back to safety, so the entirety of YOODO understands that and choose not to commit for any form of save. Yumski is still trying to shove them all the way back, but still, there's no answers to that Benedetta, but this is where Gorgeous will continue to go for a pick. Meanwhile, a 1v1 battle going on over bot side as Rio gets shredded off by the crossbow of Tang.
Ah, okay, interesting here. At least the bottom lane, we can see that Gorgeous knows how to go to the backline. Obviously, that is his pick, and The moment he landed that kill onto West, that is just what they wanted. But now the fight at the bottom is beginning again as YOODO will get a kill for himself by straight up black by Cram going down instead. Gorgeous is still there. And Gorgeous, he does not have the Black Dragon form. But YOODO does have the double kill onto his hands. Probably a triple kill even. But Yumski with a final slash to buy time for Gorgeous to get away.
Yeah, great distraction overall, and I love how Smart Omega understands that he can still turn back to catch that card off. Though the damage numbers have been pretty much convincing that you give a little bit more time, Zach Cutie can actually do a lot, especially when it comes down to those contests for the Lord. So Smart Omega, they're currently on that even kill score, and also when it comes down to the goal, I guess with those trades that went in favor for YOODO Red Giants, they've been able to give themselves a little bit more of a space to play around this Lord for the time being. The Benedict is looking for the bottom side. This is going to be an open turret for the taking because nobody is going to be manning it for now.
Yeah, the movement of Benedetta. I mean, the Benedetta, YOODO can even go to the bottom, take down the turret, and that's probably what he will do. Just waiting for YOODO Red Giants to sort of like semi-commit, and then he's kind of sure that, okay, it's clear, and then he'll go in for it. He's just gathering that information. But now, looking at Zach Cutie at the bottom, probably he will change his attention to supporting his teammates at the mid lane. And because of his presence there, and YOODO Red Giants do not have a full team, so Smart Omega now has control of the Lord.
Well, they got to find that firm entry. They do get a little bit more of that spacing, but the rest of them are also blocking off that mid-sector entry point. Yumes, he finds one, immediately jumps over onto Eurota, and it's a scattered fight all across the block. Black Dragon form used very early on. That was just a decoy of a distraction that Smart Omega has created. Now, quite a number of ultimates have been expended. Yumski as well as Gorgeous have reused his, but thankfully it's slow enough for it to come back online. Now, the Benedetta is really giving them a lot of questions to be answered, because this is where they will do objectives both at the same time, but it seems like there's not going to be a heavy commitment. They're just hoping to pull this one downwards, and this might just be pretty devastating without the marksman here to contest for the Lord for YRG.
Well, with the movement at the bottom lane from YOODO, it forced Super Sim to go into the bottom lane, and now at the top lane, this is where they'll try to get the Lord, but they'll need to take down Skies first. Skies managed to slide away, but the rest of YOODO Red Giants have arrived, and they will start off with taking down the tanker, Matt. And without Matt, they still have Cram. But then again, is that going to be enough? Is that going to be the risk that they're willing to take? The answer is no.
Yeah, no way they're going to be stealing this off of the hands of YOODO Red Giants, especially when you don't have any form of retribution to actually secure it. And now the floodgates will open up. YOODO Red Giants already have that poised position with all the minions now shoved towards the top side. So pressure is on. Smart Omega now facing the same sort of challenge back in game 1 through the mid game.
Yeah, now it's on the opposite side. The fact that the Lord is on YOODO Red Giants' side, it will push onto the bottom lane. Now this will put some level of pressure to Smart Omega, but it is still the first Lord, so it should be easy for Smart Omega to deal with, but they will still lose the bottom turret. The inhibitor turret should still be okay.
Let's see if they actually call for an engagement here. Seki's, he is trying to find somebody to pounce on, but that's just a little bit more of that zone control where they will be able to also take down every single tier 2 turrets. And now Black Dragon Forum opens up that space. It just basically will be a drive-by where he will get back into safety while the Gorge slowly melts off Surmat. But they are going to retaliate. They jump right through, and that's the time range to the wall. They do take down the Kupra, and here comes the Benedetta. Ryota tries to shred off Sakai's, but it will be zoned off, and that is where Gorgeous still pops forward. And the rest of Smart Omega, they have to retreat. They have to get this one away. There's still Ray L. Can Ray L actually turn the tides around? No, it's not going to be the case. The inhibitor will eventually be opened up, even over the top side.
Well, welcome minions onto the doorstep of Smart Omega. This is where YOODO Red Giants, who bought enough time for themselves, finally took it down. And now there's at least a little opening at the top. The minions will be a little bit stronger there. Time for YOODO Red Giants to reset again and wait for the next Lord. But maybe if they can find an opening, they will go straight in as Matt. Slight trouble for him there, managed to get away.
Now, the trouble for Smart Omega is that they cannot get a clean entry for a dive. Every single time they set foot into getting a catch, there is going to be that board that disrupts them. So they cannot funnel down onto a game plan on catching up who the front line is. They need to find a sneaky way, and the only way to do so is to have this Vendetta to really put herself in a very risky position, and that is what YOODO Red Giants want as well.
Okay, now it's time to reset for both sides, as the Lord will be up in about 20 more seconds, so this Lord will be very important. Smart Omega definitely has a challenge for this Lord, and they can rightfully do so since they do have everything. The goal difference is not that far. Level difference doesn't really matter at this point. It was almost at max level, so this is the time for Smart Omega to try to challenge for the Lord, but they are nowhere close yet. They're on their way, but not sure if they can make it in time.
Seems like they will just let this one slide as well, but there's still ample of time for them to actually make their way through. Here comes Super Matt. Now it's all about where the board's going to be positioning in this fight. Super Matt still in the middle of the fray as they do get a huge jump over onto Sif, but the crossbow of Tang will be put through. Matt is already down, and it will be YOODO Red Giants 2 in a row on that Lord, and the hunt is on. Gorgeous now looks for Cram, and can he actually make it out alive? It will have a tick of health left and will be brought down as well by Zach Cutie.
I was keeping my eye on Matt. He was walking his way and hoping to land that retribution, but he got taken down as he was walking onto the objective, and now this is the opportunity for YOODO Red Giants to end the game. Realta, what can he do? Together with his other teammate Ray L, it's going to be tough for them to try to defend this all alone, and now the Lord has arrived, but the Lord is not needed as YOODO Red Giants will bring us to the decider match.
What a beautiful game being played out from both ends, but it was YOODO Red Giants that took over control. The moment that they hit that power spike, you see they push the rest of Smart Omega back. There's no way that they can actually advance forward all too safely, and it's just beautiful to see the adaptation that YOODO Red Giants have brought to the table this time around.
That is YOODO Red Giants. They know how to respond, and it's almost a similar tactic from Smart Omega, right? Like you have the Baxia, you have the Kufra as the two frontliners, and then you have the backliners, which is West with the Bruno. You have the Burst. Almost a similar type of composition, but then again, given the second chance, YOODO Red Giants, they are prepared to deal with that sort of tankiness in front.
That's right, and I would actually commend the exemplary efforts coming in from their Yuzong throughout the course of the game, because anybody that tries to go in for the backline, Gorgeous has always been there to really shove them back as well to jump right back up. So I think like this combo really works very, very well, although there were a couple moments where Zach Cutie really have to give his life up for it the moment that they've already expend all of their resources. But for most part, when they are on 5 versus 5, they just, in this instance of the battle, you see them cutting in through every possible entry and still not really making the cut. Even when Ryota arrives to the back, they've been able to have enough wiggle room to even escape. So I think that this game was just perfectly crafted from both ends. Just really down to how well they played that team fight, and I think this is the best we've ever seen from YOODO Red Giants.
Yeah, I would agree as well. As we have ran the broadcast on this wildcard series for like 2 days since yesterday, this is arguably one of the best games of YOODO Red Giants. Very well executed indeed, and they sort of like maybe caught off guard Smart Omega with the early Arlot pick. And then it was like, oh, Arlot, okay, he's going to go for the XP lane. Okay, that's it. But all of a sudden it changes towards the end when Yums is the one using the Arlot instead after they pick out the Yuzong. So that probably caught Smart Omega a little bit off guard there. But this just shows the adaptation of YOODO Red Giants. They know what they're doing and they can play their cards right.
Yeah, and overall, like, how do you deal with this Benedetta that's trying to split push